In today's video, we're diving into one of the most mysterious creatures in American folklore, simply known as the Mothman. For over a year, the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia was gripped by fear as more than 100 people reported sightings of a strange winged creature with glowing red eyes. Was this creature an omen of something disastrous? Or was it simply a figment of imagination fueled by mass hysteria? Well, today, we're going to explore the history, the encounters, and the strange conspiracies behind the legend of the Mothman. And by the end, you can decide what you believe. The first major sighting occurred on November 15, 1966. Roger Scarberry, Linda Scarberry, Steve Mallet, and Mary Mallet were driving near the TNT area, a place that had become a local hangout despite its isolation. It was just after midnight, and as their car rounded a bend, something caught their attention. Sitting on the side of the road, just outside the glow of their headlights. They described it as a massive figure, over 6 feet tall with wings folded behind its back. But what terrified them the most were its glowing red eyes, piercing through the darkness, locking onto them. The couple stared in shock until the creature moved. Without warning, the creature unfolded its wings that spanned nearly 10 feet and launched into the air. Roger hit the gas, speeding down the road, but the creature followed, flying just above the car, keeping pace at over 100 miles per hour. It never broke eye contact. For several terrifying minutes, the Mothman pursued them, swooping and gliding just above the car, until they finally reached the edge of town. As they entered the city limits, the creature suddenly veered off and disappeared into the night sky. Shaken and pale, the couples went straight to the police. They described the creature in vivid detail, its size, its wingspan, and most importantly, its glowing red eyes. But the police were skeptical. After all, what kind of creature could chase a car at 100 miles per hour? But it didn't stop there. Over the next few days, more reports came in. People in Point Pleasant began to claim that they too had seen a similar creature. Now at this point, you might be thinking this is all made up. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought the same thing. But as I kept digging more into the Mothman, I came across story after story after story, and the same thing kept popping up. I mean, look at all of these newspaper clippings. How could any of this be fake if there are so many first-hand accounts? And that's not even the crazy thing. The Mothman may have caused one of the biggest tragedies in West Virginia. It's now December 15th, 1967. Disaster has struck Point Pleasant. The Silver Bridge, a key structure connecting West Virginia to Ohio, collapsed during rush hour. 46 people lost their lives when the bridge crumbled into the freezing Ohio River, taking cars and passengers with it. So here's the official story. The Silver Bridge collapsed because of a single piece of steel. That piece being an eye-bar, which are long flat bars with holes at each end that link together to hold up the entire bridge. These eye-bars weren't just part of the structure, they were the structure. The bridge was built with this flawed design, where if one eye-bar failed, the entire chain of them would be compromised. Under the weight of heavy traffic, one eye-bar snapped, and because the bridge lacked any backup system, it all came crashing down. That's what the government claimed to have happened. The residents, well, they believed that the collapse wasn't just an engineering failure. They suspected something far more sinister. Locals believed that the Mothman was a harbinger of doom, sent to warn them of the collapse. But how could a creature like the Mothman be connected to the collapse of the bridge? The sightings of the Mothman stopped right after the bridge fell, which made the residents think there's more to the story. A cover-up of a deeper conspiracy. Conspiracy author John Keel, who was investigating the Mothman at the time, detailed many of these encounters in his book, The Mothman Prophecies. Keel believed that the Mothman wasn't just a cryptid, but part of a broader web of supernatural events. Keel wasn't alone in his beliefs. Many witnesses, including those who saw the Mothman, also saw UFOs. Around the same time as the Mothman sightings of unexplained lights in the sky a mysterious craft seen hovering over the TNT area spiked. Was the Mothman linked to these UFO sightings? Was it an extraterrestrial being? Or perhaps something even more strange, a being created by humans with toxic waste? During World War II, the TNT area was a munitions manufacturing site, but locals believe there was more to it than just weapons production. Some speculate that the government conducted secret experiments there, tests involving chemical warfare, biological agents, and possibly even genetic modification. Researchers have suggested that the Mothman could be the result of such experiments. Perhaps a genetically modified creature, engineered for enhanced abilities like speed or vision. Could it be a failed government project, now roaming the countryside of West Virginia? And if so, what else might be out there, waiting to be discovered? Lastly, something even more unsettling. Witnesses who encountered the Mothman began to report strange visits from mysterious men dressed in black suits. These weren't ordinary investigators. No, they didn't come with badges or formal introductions. They just showed up, asking strange questions about their sightings of the Mothman or UFOs. Their presence seemed like more than just a coincidence. Witnesses described the men in black as having strange appearances, too pale, with features that didn't quite seem right. Their speech was described as awkward and robotic, and in some cases, they didn't seem to understand basic human behaviors. What makes this conspiracy even more compelling is that these mysterious men in black didn't just stop at asking questions. They were probing, sometimes nonsensical, as if they already knew the answers. But the real mystery was their warnings. They didn't just want information, they wanted silence. Witnesses were warned not to talk about what they'd seen, whether it was the Mothman or the strange lights in the sky. And if they didn't comply, well, that part remains unclear. These men would simply leave without explanation, vanishing as quickly as they had arrived. The real question is, why were they so determined to keep the Mothman and the UFOs hidden from the public? Was it to protect national security? Or were they covering up something far more disturbing? And if these men weren't human, what does that mean about the Mothman? Some researchers believe that the government may have known about the Silver Bridge's structural issues well before the collapse. The idea that the Mothman was involved in these larger conspiracies has fueled decades of speculation. Some skeptics have pointed to the sandhill crane, standing nearly as tall as a human with red markings around its eyes. The theory goes that locals, in a state of heightened fear, could have mistaken the bird for something far more sinister. But those who came face to face with the creature insist that it wasn't just a bird. They describe a being with intelligence, something that watched them, followed them, and in some cases seemed to communicate. And then there's the psychological explanation: mass hysteria. Point Pleasant was a small, close-knit town. Could it be that one sighting sparked a chain reaction, leading to a wave of fear and collective imagination? When fear spreads, the line between reality and illusion can blur. But if that's the case, how do we explain the hundreds of similar sightings, all describing the same thing? The truth is, we may never know what the Mothman truly is. A bird, a cryptid, a supernatural being, or simply a product of fear. It's up to you to decide. But one thing is certain, the legend of the Mothman has endured for decades, and it continues to haunt the people of Point Pleasant. Whether you believe in the supernatural or prefer rational explanations, the Mothman story will leave you wondering, what else could be out there? What do you think? Was the Mothman trying to warn us? Or was it something more sinister? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all things dark and spooky. And as always, try not to fall down another rabbit hole.